The rough cut is only the first stage of the editorial process, where your story begins to take shape. The second stage is to refine your storyline clip selections to improve dialogue pacing, build suspense, and generally shape your project into something your viewers will want to watch. If Hitchcock once said that movies are life with the boring parts cut out, then Final Cut Pro's improved trimming tools will help you cut them out faster. While you can perform many of your editing adjustments using the selection tool, Final Cut Pro 10 also gives you some incredibly powerful trimming features that include a dedicated trim tool and a breakthrough trimming mode called the Precision Editor. Before we look at these tools, let's add a few new clips to our storyline. In the event library, locate the Confederate Charge clip in the Battle Footage keyword collection. Play the clip if you wish, but its name pretty well describes its content. Press E to append this clip to the end of the timeline. Back in the event library, locate the Confederate Charge 2 clip. Set your selection range at the head of the clip, then play the clip and watch for the two foreground soldiers running past the camera to leave the frame, then set your range out point. Press E to append this clip to the timeline. Move your playhead to the edit point between the Steve interview and the Confederate Charge clips. Press Shift ? to preview the edit.
About it to be told the right way. Accurately, not
As you can see, we have some work to do. From the tool pop-up, choose Trim or press T on your keyboard. Then move your mouse over the edit point and you'll see the trim icons change as you move over the edit point. Like the selection tool, you can trim either the outgoing shot or the incoming shot as indicated by the single film strip icon. This edit mode is often referred to as a ripple edit because the trim only affects one side of an edit point, while causing the clips on the side of the edit point not being affected to ripple either earlier or later in time. The trim tool gives you 3 additional trimming modes, making this tool a 4-in-1 trim tool. If you hover your mouse directly over the edit point, you'll notice the icon changes to a bidirectional film strip. This edit mode is often referred to as a rolling edit because you'll be affecting both sides of the edit at once. If you move your mouse further away from the edit point and into the clip area, the icon changes again to a bidirectional arrow and closed by brackets. This third edit mode is called a slip edit. The fourth edit mode is called a slide edit, and it's hidden until you use a modifier key. Press and hold the Option key and the icon changes to selection brackets with bidirectional arrows outside them. Let's take a closer look at these 4 edit modes. By the way, I'm using the terms ripple, roll, slip, and slide because legacy Final Cut Pro users are familiar with them, and I wanted to create some common ground for understanding the new trim tool. For iMovie users, these terms are much less relevant because how the tool operates is more important than what the function is labeled. Before we begin trimming, there's a helpful feature in the user preferences you want to have turned on, especially if you've edited with previous versions of Final Cut Pro. Press Command comma to bring up the Preferences window and click the Editing icon. Place a check in the Show Detailed Trimming Feedback checkbox. During a trim operation, this toggle will transform the viewer to a helpful 2-up display so you can clearly see what's happening on both sides of your edit point. Let's start by trimming some of the fat off the end of Steve's interview. Skim a few seconds before the end of the clip. You're going to play the clip, then pause immediately after Steve says, "to be told the right way."
It was about it to be told the right way.
Move your trim tool over the edit point, making sure the film strip is pointed to the left. Now click and drag to the left. Notice as you drag, only the left image in the viewer updates. This is because ripple edits only affect one side of the edit point. As you can see from the static image on the right, the incoming clip starting frame remains unchanged. Drag until the edit point snaps to the playhead. Snapping is a legacy feature of Final Cut Pro that allows you to precisely align your edits to the playhead, markers, and other clips. You can toggle this feature on or off using the blue button in the upper right of the timeline. By the way, the keyboard shortcut has not changed since version 1 of Final Cut. It's still the letter N. Next, we'll clean up the edit on the incoming Confederate Charge clip. Skim over the clip, listening for the officer to yell, "Charge!" Once your skimmer is positioned before the officer's command, click once to move your playhead at the skimmer position. Move your mouse over the edit point until you see a right-facing film strip, then drag to the right until the edge of the clip snaps to the playhead. Now press Shift ? To play the edit around the skimmer.
The representation of its history and the things about it to be told the right way.
Now let's perform a ripple trim using a keyboard shortcut. Move the playhead to the edit point between the Dave interview and the shoulder arms clip. Select the tail of the Dave interview clip. If you're seeing a red bracket instead of a yellow bracket, this visual is telling you that the edit is at the end of its available media. Press the comma key twice to remove 2 frames from the tail of this shot. Then preview the edit.
For them, it's a way to learn what living history is like.
If you care about where you live.
Another useful edit is the rolling edit. Select the edit point between shoulder arms and Steve interview 01. When you click on the center of the edit point, it becomes highlighted with 2 yellow trim brackets. As the brackets indicate, you'll be trimming 2 sides of an edit at once. Let's say we wanted to see more of the shoulder arms clip and less of the Steve interview. Drag to the right. Notice in the viewer that because we're affecting both sides of the edit at once, both the left and right images in the viewer update. Drag until the tooltip reads plus 12 frames. Because both sides of the edit were trimmed simultaneously, 12 frames were added to the tail of the shoulder arms clip, while 12 frames were removed from the head of the Steve interview. Press Shift ? To preview the edit.
To learn what living history is like.
If you care about where you live, then you want the representation.
Let's try rolling the edit the other direction because we want to see more of Steve and less of the soldiers. Drag to the left until the tooltip reads -1 second. Remember, you can also trim using your keypad and the comma period keys. Hold down the Shift key and tap the period key twice to return the edit back to its original position. Take a few moments to experiment with these various trimming modes until you're satisfied with the timing of these 2 clips. Sometimes you're satisfied with the timing and placement of a clip, but you want to change the clip's content. Move your skimmer over the shoulder arms clip and press X to create a selection range for the entire clip. Press the / key to play the selection.
If you care about where you live.
I think the timing of this shot works, but because of the clip's short duration, I think we need to see more of the soldiers' faces and less of their boots. Let's change the timeline clip appearance so we can clearly see what's going on with our clip as we make our adjustments. Click the switch icon, then click the Video Only button. Click in the gray area to deselect the clip and zoom in a bit more so you can see more of the clip's thumbnails. Move your pointer within the clip until you see the slip trimming icon. Click once and yellow trim brackets appear at both ends of the clip. This visual informs you that you're about to perform a trim that changes the start and end frames of your clip simultaneously. Now click and drag and notice both the film strip representing the clip and the viewer updates as you drag right or left. Dragging to the right slips the content earlier in the clip, and dragging to the left slips the content later in the clip. This may seem a bit counterintuitive, but all you need to do is watch the 2 images in the viewer. The image on the left displays the clip's new starting frame, and the image on the right displays the new ending frame. Since we want the start of the clip to occur later, where the camera has settled on the soldiers' faces, drag to the left while watching the left image in the viewer. Also, the tooltip informs you how many frames you've slipped the edit in a particular direction. When the tooltip reads -1 second, release your mouse. Play back the edit to see the change.
If you care about where you live, then you...
The final trim mode we'll look at is called a slide edit. A slide edit is useful for moving an entire clip earlier or later in time. Unlike a slip edit, you do not change the clip's content, only the clip's position in the timeline. Using the shoulder arms clip, as in our previous example, hold down your Option key and click once. This time, yellow trim brackets appear on the edit points of the 2 surrounding interview clips. With your Option key held down, click and drag while watching the viewer. The image on the left displays the ending frame of the Dave interview, and the image on the right displays the starting frame of the Steve interview. When performing a slide edit, frames are either being added or removed from these two adjacent interview clips, depending on the direction you're dragging. Slide edits are often used when you need to quickly align a clip with a music beat or a sound effect. Take a few moments to experiment with this trim mode. When you're finished, switch back to your selection tool and zoom out by pressing Shift-Z. Also, let's set the clip appearance back to video and audio. We're now going to take a look at a revolutionary way to trim using Final Cut Pro's new Precision Editor. Actually, this feature is not really new. iMovie users have benefited from it for some time. In the timeline, locate the edit point between Confederate Charge and Confederate Charge 2. If you play over the edit, you'll see that both shots could use some tightening up. To call up the Precision Editor, simply double-click on the edit point. Visually, the storyline is represented as a split view with the outgoing clip appearing on top and the incoming clip appearing on the bottom. By placing your mouse over the outgoing clip, a drag hand will appear. Click and drag to the right until the tooltip reads -3 seconds, then release your mouse. The yellow bracket indicates the trimmed out point. The darker area to the right of the trim bracket are the frames that we trimmed out, but are nonetheless available to you if you need them. These frames are often referred to as handle frames. You can still skim over the handles to locate and preview specific content. But that's not even the best part. Skim over the handle frames until the soldiers are under the shadow of the oak tree. Click once with your mouse and the edit point moves to the skimmer position. How cool is that? Now skim to the left until you see the soldier in red as he's about to cross in front of the first oak tree. Now click to reset the edit point to this frame. Now let's work on the incoming clip. Skim over the clip until you locate the frame where the soldier on the left has just cleared the rifle smoke. Then click to set the edit point. In order to skim or play back the edit, make sure your mouse is within the dark gray strip that separates the storyline. Press your spacebar to preview the edit. By way of review, the edits we just performed are ripple edits because we only trimmed one side of the edit for each clip. To perform a rolling edit, where you manipulate both sides of the edit at the same time, place your mouse over the gray drag handle and your cursor will become a rolling edit trim icon. Drag right or left to trim both sides of the edit at once. You can also navigate from edit point to edit point within the Precision Editor by pressing your up and down arrow keys. This way you can rough out your story, then jump into the Precision Editor and go shot to shot until your story pacing is just what you want. You can also click on these gray buttons to quickly jump to the edit you want to trim. When you're finished trimming, click the Close Precision Editor button or press Escape. As of now, we've been doing all our editorial work in the primary storyline. The fact that there's an adjective before the word storyline should tell you that there can be more than one storyline in your project. And that's the subject of the next lesson.